The Waitoreke is an otter, beaver-like cryptid said to live in New Zealand. It is usually described as a small otter-like animal that lives in the South Island of New Zealand. There are many theories on the Waitoreke's true identity, such as it being an otter, beaver or pinniped. Etymology. The origin of the name Waitoreke is not well documented. It may have been an invention. It does not occur in Tregear's fairly comprehensive Maori dictionary of 1891, and was said to be ungrammatical by leading Maori anthropologist Te Rangiharoa. Despite this, etymologies have been put forward by researchers. Wai is from the Maori word water. This is generally agreed upon. Wai are variations there of the universal term for water in Polynesian languages. One of the theories is that Tarek translates to the spurs, i.e. Waitoreke equals water. The spurs. Reek is a specifically Maori term denoting a spear thrust to hair that has been tied into a protruding knot. Toreki is South Island Gaitahu dialect of Torengi, and sometimes taken to mean to disappear. Thus, Waitoreke equals disappears water. According to Tregear, Torengi might conceivably used signifying to disappear, but the disappearing act has to be due to being left behind by someone. The meaning may have changed with the dialect. The alternate translation, water that was left behind by someone, is as plausible. Wai means water, the following syllable to link the word to the spiritual world, and the rest of the word means to disappear. Therefore the translation might be a disappearing water spectre. For the Maori, it was the most common animals which played significant roles in their lives. Unlike Europe, where the criteria for turning an animal into a mythological creature was its rareness, a final one is that Torki may be a distortion by the Maori of a foreign name for the animal. Since European settlement, the animal has also been referred to as the New Zealand otter, Maori otter, New Zealand beaver, New Zealand muskrat, and New Zealand platypus, based on various accounts and theories. Description. The Waitoreke is usually described as a small otter-like creature, sometimes as big as a cat. It is described as having brownish fur and short legs. The sightings usually place the creature near or in the water on the South Island of New Zealand. Its fur is described as being short like that of an otter. Very little physical evidence proving the existence of the Waitoreke exists. Julius von Haast is reported to have obtained a Waitoreke pelt in 1868. The fur was brown, with white spots, and the toes lacked webbing. This is inconclusive evidence. The pelt seems to have resembled a quolls. Quolls are sometimes claimed to have been released in New Zealand in 1868. The common brush-tail possum was successfully introduced in 1858 and is now a widespread pest, whereas introduction of the common ring-tail possum ultimately failed. Both animals are unspotted. Sightings. Evidence for the existence of the Waitoreke is mainly based on sporadic accounts of an unidentified amphibious animal in the country's South Island spanning well over 200 years. Some of the more infamous accounts are dubious and/or incongruous, but a significant number of descriptions share a striking similarity to each other and a species known to exist outside New Zealand. The Maori people said that in old times they used to keep Waitoreke as pets. Some of the most notable early accounts come from pre-20th century explorers, naturalists, Captain James Cook, Dusky Sons 1772, Walter Mantle, various first half of 19th century Temuka location. He informed me that the length of the animal is about 2 feet from the point of the nose to the root of the tail, the fur grizzly brown, thick short legs, bushy tail, head between that of a dog and a cat, lives in holes. The food of the land kind is lizards, of the amphibious kind. Fish, does not lay eggs. recorded in an interview with Tarifata of the Natimamos. The date is variously given as 1838 or 1848 in secondary sources. This description is strongly reminiscent of a common brush-tailed possum which, despite being primarily arboreal, sleeps in burrows or dens. It usually forages in trees, but this is more subject to food availability than a genuine preference of this voracious and quite indiscriminate carnivore. They have wreaked havoc among New Zealand's unwary reptiles and birds. While the introduced species seems a near-perfect match, it is not known to have been established until 1858. It was numerous enough to be encountered in many places from 1860 at the earliest. Reverend Richard Taylor, various first half of 19th century and perhaps earlier. In his 1855 book Taker a Maui, Julius von Haast, various 19th century, as quoted in Alfred Brem's Tierleben chapter Monotremes. Another interesting creatures among the most primitive mammals is the only indigenous New Zealand mammal, Waitoreke, an otter-like animal which has been seen several times, once from such a short distance that it was hit with a whip, but then it disappeared in the water with a very brittle sound. Haas saw its tracks in the snow. Yet no one was able to catch the animal so far. It is thought that this mammal is more primitive than monotremes and will put some new light upon the ascent of the class which ends with the man. As quoted in Hochstetter's New Zealand, my friend Haast wrote me about Waitoreke on June 6, 1861, 3,500 feet above the sea level, one found on the upper part of Ashburton River, in a part of the country which no man has ever visited before me. Its tracks. These are similar to those of an otter, only a bit smaller. However, the animal itself was observed by two gentlemen who own a sheep farm near Ashburton, 2,100 feet above the sea level. They described the animal as being dark brown, the size of a big rabbit. When hit with a whip, it made a whistle-like sound and disappeared in the water. Later accounts come from a variety of settlers, farmers, trampers, hunters, tourists and scientists throughout the 20th century. Many of these sightings were assessed in a paper on the subject of the Waitoreke by G. A. Pollock in 1974, which led to a search of the area around Lakes Waihola and Waipori in Otago during the 1980s. Evidence. The majority of the evidence about the Waitoreke is from sightings. However, some alleged physical evidence does exist. Several unidentified tracks have been found. They were described as being a few inches long and showing webbing. Otter footprints show a little webbing, but beaver footprints show full webbing. In 1868, Julius von Haast obtained an alleged Waitoreke pell. It was in very bad condition and was not conclusively identified. Described as being brown and having white spots, it seems to have approximately that of quolls, which are not present in New Zealand. New Zealand mammals. The Waitoreke would be most remarkable if it exists, due to the fact that New Zealand is one of the few significant land masses on Earth to have no recent native land mammals. The South Pacific nation does play host to several native pinnipeds and bat species, but is most notable for its plethora of bird species that seem to have evolved without the restrictions of mammalian predation. Flightless species that would have been fair game for any hunting mammal were most plentiful, and there were even some tiny flightless passerines, a thing almost unheard of, and certainly unknown in the presence of mammalian predators as small as shrews. New Zealand's dearth of mammals is a result of its separation from the supercontinent of Gondwana approximately 80 million years ago. In the Cretaceous epoch, recent discoveries discoveries in an Otago fossil lakebed suggest that at least one terrestrial mammal species, the St. Bathans mammal, existed in New Zealand before human settlement, while there was most likely some sort of mammalian creatures on New Zealand at the time of separation, and certainly in the Miocene. Placental and marsupial mammals were almost certainly not present. Theories on identity. Despite the lack of fossils and/or confirmed proof in the form of a living specimen, theories on the Waitoreke's identity include: otter. An escaped new species of otter is the most likely candidate for the Waitoreke. Most of the sightings resemble an otter. Also, the majority of the sightings are near water where otters are most often found. If an otter is a Waitoreke, it is most likely a river otter. The otter would most likely be brought to New Zealand on boats, although it could have swum across the ocean. However, the theory that it swam is unlikely. Beaver. Another common theory is that the Waitoreke is actually a beaver. This is because several of the sightings report that the Waitoreke lives in dams like those of a beaver. The fur color of a beaver is also close to that of the description of a Waitoreke. However, the body shape and the tail structure of a Waitoreke are different than that of a beaver. If the Waitoreke was a beaver, it would most likely be introduced by European settlers and would then be related to the European beaver. Pinnipeds. Another one of the theories is a pinnipeds. Pinnipeds are marine mammals in the superfamily Pinnipedea. Examples are seals, sea lions, and walruses. Pinnipeds are native to New Zealand, so that makes it a good candidate for the Waitoreke. The New Zealand sea lion is one of the pinnipeds native to New Zealand. It is about 5 to 8 feet long, and the males have a brownish coat and the females are grey. Another candidate is the New Zealand fur seal. It is slightly smaller and has a brown coat. Monotreme. A monotreme is an egg-laying mammal. This theory is because there have been some reports that the Waitoreke lays eggs. Known monotremes of the platypus and the two types of echidna, which are all native to Australia. The description of the echidna differs from the common description of the Waitoreke. The platypus is more like the description of the Waitoreke but still different. A new type of monotreme is also possible. Procynosuchid cynodont. Her claim occasionally put forth in literature is that the Waitoreke is a living procynosuchid, as these mammal-like synapsids also had semi-aquatic habits. Due to the utter absence of procynosuchid fossils after the Permian, such an identity is considered to be very unlikely. Basal area form. More recently, with the description of the Miocene St. Bathans mammal, some authors have proposed that the Waitoreke is a living representative of its mammal clade. The St. Bathans mammal is considered to be a basal area for mammal outside of Cladotheria and Allotheria. Of particular interest is that the etymology of the suffix -reke would be justified, since it would probably have retained the tarsal spurs omnipresent in basal mammals. This hypothesis has been illustrated by John Conway in the Cryptozoologicon, though the book does not take a definite statement in the animal's actual existence. Other theories. These are other theories on the identity of the Waitoreke. They are less common than the theories mentioned above, but have been put forward because of the animal's similar appearance to the Waitoreke, or for other reasons. Allotherian, basal mammaliform, marsupial, ancient Afrotherian mammal, mustelid, mongoose, rodent. Theories on the animal's identity based on zoogeographic conjecture continue today, but most serious cryptozoologist Waitoreke enthusiasts admit that the most likely scenario for the animals coming to be in New Zealand would be by way of human introduction. However, not a single piece of conclusive physical evidence put forward in over 200 years has conclusively proven the animal is anything more than a myth.